Look at these people.
Yeah, welcome. Come on in.
You know, that was one other thing we've been discussing. This was an experiment to do sort of an after hours Zoom event. You know, the rest of this series has been at noon, and a lot of these have been earlier in the day. And we thought, why not do one that's maybe when the kids go to bed, or you can have a drink in hand. And
Man, who's getting their kids to bed by 8 o'clock? I want to know that
that's
parenting
true.
strategy.
I'm not a parent yet. Clearly, that shows. So
I think at 12 years old, my son is able to put himself to bed. So I will relieve myself of that parenting chore for a bit. You know, we talk a lot about the summer melt for our fellow educators. That summer melt where the young people drift into the summer and forgets a significant portion of the year's learning. That summer melt started in March this year.
Yeah.
Adam, how about we get this thing going for folks?
For sure. Keisha, I think we lost Keisha. Nope, she's there. Keisha, do you want to drive? I can also be the PowerPoint person if need be. Let's do it. All right. Is that full screen now?
It is full screen, but we are seeing the presenter mode.
Oh, you're actually seeing the presenter mode?
Yeah.
This is why Keisha's normally in charge. I don't even know how to go into presentation. I do.
Go on the slideshow.
There we go.
All righty. Well, greetings, everybody. I'm Rob Smith, Associate Professor in History over at Marquette and Director our Center for Urban Research, Teaching, and Outreach. My buddy, Adam Carr. Adam, you want to say hello?
Yeah, I'm Adam Carr, and had the honor of collaborating with Rob and the rest of our team on the March on Milwaukee project, this is sort of the end of our month-long series.
Yep, this was the first month of what will be many to come. And in this conversation, we are indeed not in the webinar mode. We are in a group meeting to talk about the difficulties, the challenges, and then the successes also with teaching race and equality, very difficult topics in the classroom. And we've got a bit of a PowerPoint for us to help us stay on track a little bit. We're going to be obviously using this recording for instructing and other purposes. And so we do have a bit of an organization to this. We're going to talk a little bit about some ground rules first, and then we'll get into three bigger categories, the classroom and teaching methods in the classroom. And then we'll talk a little bit about the broader question of knowledge and teaching history and what that all means. And then get into some other personal viewpoints and approaches and questions. And then we have a few announcements to let you folks know what's on deck for us for the remaining months to come. Over the next several months, we've got some ideas already in mind and getting ironed out. So, you know, this evening, we're having a bit of a conversation. This is free flowing. We're going to be using our chat feature. Folks are more than welcome to jump in and out of the conversation as needed and participate as much or as little as you like to. But more than anything else, we wanted to provide the opportunity for us to have a conversation about how to grapple with some of these very difficult conversations in the classroom. And it's especially important for us to acknowledge how difficult this particular moment is around a whole number of issues that will inform how we teach this particular moment in history. And if we've learned anything over the last several years, and certainly over the last several months, getting this particular moment, getting history correct is very, very important. And making sure that the narratives and stories that then begin to make up that history, to make up that tapestry, is indeed done effectively and as accurately as possible. Any other thoughts, Adam?
No, I think let's jump into it. I do want to make sure, as maybe was apparent from the fact I didn't even know how to enter presentation mode, I did not make this beautiful PowerPoint, someone else did. So I don't want to take any credit where it is not due. And with that, let's just move to our ground rules.
Cool. We know the Zoom, we know the Zoom and digital meeting hustle now. We are all, as I like to say, Zoom knowledgeable. We are Zoom savvy. Please keep your mics muted when you're not talking, just to avoid background noises. I got trees and squirrels around me. I got a squirrel, folks. This is a funny story. Every time I'm out here on the porch doing some work, I got a squirrel that just comes up on the porch and stares at me as if I'm not supposed to be here. And so I need to have a conversation with that squirrel at some point.
Rob, can anyone else see the squirrel?
I barely can see the squirrel. Sometimes he kind of
Okay.
shows up and disappears, but if he
I was
comes
saying he
out,
might be in your mind.
that's possible. It could be me. It could be me making this up. So we'll follow our Zoom protocols and Zoom etiquette. We also are going to record this. Want to make sure folks know that, just so that we can make it available later. And then we come from various backgrounds. We come from various levels of education, and we want to make sure that all of those experiences are valued and welcomed as we share widely our experiences and our challenges and our thoughts. And so, with that in mind, if there
You
aren't
ready?
ground rules, let's get started. Let's talk, folks. All the images that you see come from the March on Milwaukee collection that we've used throughout this month to talk about the open housing marches. And so we want to continue to privilege those very wonderful images because they capture the open housing marches in so many interesting ways. And our young people in particular get really engaged in the images. And we know the power of images, particularly in the classroom. Adam, why don't you talk us through these icebreaker ideas? I think this was your idea.
Yeah, when we were constructing this event, we didn't know if we would have 5 people or 50, and we have 18. And I was thinking we could do this in the chat. We do have one person on the phone as well. I don't know if that person has the app on their phone so they can see the visuals. But I was thinking, let's do this in the chat, because I think that might be the most efficient for time, because we have a bunch of great questions. Would everyone just answer? We'll do one at a time. So first, your name and affiliation. Then we'll do what motivated you to attend, and then what you're hoping to gain. That'll help us kind of nose in the room and then calibrate to what everybody's hoping to get out of it. So why don't we just start? Folks, can you just start putting in the chat who you are, your affiliation? I assume most of the folks in this room are educators, so where you might be an educator. So Kristen Leffelman from the Wisconsin Historical Society is here. Heather Godley from Case High School, who's also an integral part of the March on Milwaukee Education Committee. We've got Janice from, it's William from Marquette.
We got William.
Actually, we have
Janice.
both of them. We have both of them, yes.
Absolutely.
We have Matt, an educator in the school district of Waukesha. Louise from Marquette.
Nate Rice out of West Dallas Central.
Lisa Marquette, yeah, and soon to be UWGB. Brienne from Sun Prairie Schools, instructional coach. This is a nice. We also have the other Godly here from Alverno. We have Matt. Abby from Marquette. John, 9 years MPS teacher, 20 years educator, taught Marquette during the Gates redesign in 2002. All right, this is a great room of people. And as Rob identified, there's a pretty healthy range of where people are coming from. Tanya.
Hey, Tanya. Tanya's back. Good to see you again, Tanya.
Yeah. I want to.
From Cedarburg. Welcome, Julie from Cedarburg. There's Amanda. What's up, Amanda? Janice is our Dean of Libraries. It's great to have some librarians and archivists and all these folks in this conversation as well. Those folks get the documents for us.
Yeah, and just a point Tanya made, I went through a good portion of today just feeling despondent. So I think some folks, Rob, you mentioned the importance of the last few years, the last few months, but even the last few hours, there's been stories emanating around us, and I don't know, it's difficult to sit in this city or even this country. So, all right. So folks are already getting the second question. Great. What motivated you to attend this table talk? So why don't folks in a phrase, in a sentence, share why you decided to, of all the different exciting Zoom conversations with other nerds you could go to this evening
On a Friday at 8
on a
o'clock.
Friday at 8 when you could be at the club, Sam's Club, bulk shopping? What brings you here to this Zoom?
Yeah.
All right, seeking inspiration.
See if we can inspire some folks tonight. History is fun, Heather. Absolutely right. History is a lot of fun. It's as difficult and as trying as it can be. Absolutely.
Every time you say history is fun, I cringe.
You don't believe me.
That's
It's
the
true.
difference between you and me, Adam. I love it. Love hearing him say it every time he does.
And Heather,
I've
way
come to
pop in
love
with
it.
the audio, folks. If you
That's good.
feel the urge to jump in and verbalize some things, feel free to do that too. We are free flowing. We are comfortable. I'm sure we all have our beverage of choice, non-alcoholic or otherwise.
John mentioned March in the 50th anniversary of the Housing March is taught on the North Side and continues to teach in the inner city in Jersey City now.
Jersey City. What's going
So
on?
Amanda Sepinen, who I've known since we were in high school, seeking practical, actionable steps, the only way to feel more helpful. That sounds like Amanda. Absolutely.
Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity Coalition in our district, Matt. Yeah, that all of that, we certainly understand the challenges associated not only with the classroom, but the way these kinds of conversations more broadly are important for institutions and cultural shifts and cultural change and all of that. Like these are some of the building blocks to get not only our students more knowledgeable, but also our colleagues, staff, and faculty to make sure that they are also continuing to learn and think critically about issues of race and equity.
So Kristen's
East
actually
Coast represent, that's right. When the East is in the house. Absolutely.
Kristen Leffelman pointed out teaching local history makes it more relevant for students. And that's exactly why I still have that aversion to the idea of history being fun, because it so rarely is about the world around you.
And we need some Hootie references, Adam.
I know, that's a deep cut. That proves that you've been around for these.
Hootie reference, absolutely.
Serious wrecker.
Well, what we're going to do is really have a conversation about how we all go about these topics and share with one another our own successes and our challenges, and get into a conversation about how we can continually improve on these practices. And so we definitely are looking forward to not only supporting one another, but then also thinking about ways to support our students. And let's be really honest. In these times, we need the choir. We oftentimes say we preach to the choir, and we say that as a bit of a knock, but sometimes we need the choir, and more than ever, the choir is important.
And actually, I mean, that last question, I feel like folks clearly probably says something about the kind of people who are here today. I think folks answered the third question a little bit in the second. If you have any other thoughts about what you're hoping to gain from this discussion today, this isn't so big a group of people that we can't calibrate what we're talking about to what you'd like. So if anybody has any last thoughts about what you're hoping to gain from this conversation, it can be abstract, it can be concrete. We've already seen a mix of that from folks. Pop that in the chat right now, and then we will officially begin.
And Matt, I want to make sure to get back to Matt real quickly. We do have some folks in the call who work in that very world of diversity, inclusion, and equity for institutions. And so we'll get into some of those topics, certainly.
Appreciate it.